Hello, today is Wednesday, May 6th. Welcome back to English class. Today our objective is I can revise my I am from poem by completing 3 revision passes. And the way we're going to do that, our agenda, you're going to watch this video. You're already here. Great start. You're going to do step 1 of the revision process, then step 2 of the revision process, and finally step 3 of the revision process. Today, there isn't going to be any stopping or starting this video. You're just going to watch the video all the way through, get all of the instructions, and then go back and do the revision process on your own. But if you do have any questions about anything, like always, feel free to call or text me, and I'm happy to talk you through it. Okay, so it's time for us to just dive into the revision process. You guys drafted your I am from poems using that template yesterday, and I would never ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do myself, so I did the exact same thing. I created my I am from poem using the exact same template that you used. And this is what it came out with for me. First, I'm just going to read through my entire draft I am from poem, and then I'm going to show you how I went through the process of revising it. This is just my draft version, so it's definitely not perfect. There are parts of it that I really like, parts of it that I don't like so much, but I'm excited to show you how I revised it today. So this was my draft, and we're going to see what the final version looks like at the end of the video. I am from by Hillary Canary. I am from tomato-shaped pincushion stored in a wicker sewing basket. From Spice Cabinet and Lazy Susan. I am from the quiet brick house on the hill and the path that runs along the river. I am from dogwood trees whose roots are above a graveyard for my childhood pets. I am from well-worn softball mitt, stuffed bunny and bear. From Shaughnessy and Jane. And from an organic, cruelty-free, non-toxic, check the ingredients list kind of careful. From seemingly limitless patience. I am from singing Away in the Manger as we walked down the stairs on Christmas morning. From macaroni and cheese with condensed Campbell's tomato soup. From the scarf the monkey swung on at the boarding school zoo. And from sleeping on the hospital room floor because you shouldn't be alone. I still have a matching set of stuffed bunny and bear, love-worn and tucked away in a box in my closet. They were stolen from my sister's toy box when we were too little to know any better. I am from the moments you fall asleep in the car and someone carries you over their shoulder and tucks you into bed. The comfort that comes from being cared for and loved. Okay, that was my draft. Now I'm going to show you the revision process. So like I said, our revision process has 3 steps. We're starting with step 1, which is to fix any grammar or spelling mistakes. You'll notice that the draft version of my poem does have a couple of spelling and grammar mistakes. I know because I see these little wiggly red lines and blue lines in my poem. The way to fix those mistakes when you see them is you click the word in Google Docs and the corrected version is going to pop up right above that. You click the corrected version and Google Docs will automatically fix it for you. So when I fixed those, my poem looks like this. I now no longer have any underlines. I no longer have any spelling or grammar mistakes. I changed the colors of things as I revised them just so it would be clear to you guys, but you don't have to do that as you're revising your poem. That's step 1. It was super easy. We can move on to step 2. For step 2, we're fixing any awkward wording we notice. You're taking out lines you don't like, and you're just making any other changes that stand out to you. So when I was looking over my poem, doing step 2 of the revision process, some things that stood out to me there were words that I repeated multiple times in my poem that I didn't do it for any particular reason. It was just a coincidence, and I wanted to make sure that didn't happen because I thought it looked weird. So I took out some things that were repeated multiple times. I got rid of lines that I just wasn't crazy about. And then I made some other changes to add a little bit more detail to what I was saying and make things a little bit more specific. So once I made all of those changes, my poem looked like this. So you see the red words that I fixed, where I fixed spelling and grammar mistakes. And then you see the green is where I made changes to lines that were awkward or just weren't detailed enough. That's step 2. Time to talk through step 3. Now, step 3 is, I think, the most challenging step in our revision process. This is where we're adding in examples of figurative language. You need at least 2 examples of figurative language in order for your poem to receive full credit. You can use any of the types of figurative language we've talked about in our poetry unit. You might use simile, metaphor, personification, repetition, rhyme, or alliteration. You can use any of those, and if you need a refresher on what any of those words mean, use Google, feel free. But any of those that you feel comfortable with, you can work into your poem. So the way that I did that in my poem, I chose to use personification and simile. I talked about in my initial draft, this line said, whose roots are above a graveyard for my childhood pets. I wanted to personify the trees by describing them as reaching. That's personification because trees don't reach, only humans truly reach. So I was giving human features to the trees. That's personification. The second kind of figurative language I used was a simile. A simile is a comparison of two things using the word like. So I compared the feeling of being pulled into somebody's arms to a cradle, and I used this word like. I added in this phrase like a cradle. That's my simile. All right, so once I had gone through all three of my revision steps, I had totally completed my revision for my poem. So this is my final draft. I'll read it aloud now. You can see the difference between when I first started revising and what I ended up with, because I'm much happier with this version. So we have I Am From by Hillary Canary. I am from tomato-shaped pincushion stored in a wicker sewing basket, from Spice Cabinet and Lazy Susan. I am from the quiet brick house on the hill and the path that runs along the river. I am from dogwood trees whose roots reach down into a graveyard for my childhood pets. I am from well-worn softball mitts, so small ballet shoes, from Janet and Joe, and from an organic, cruelty-free, non-toxic, check the ingredients list kind of careful, from seemingly limitless patience. I am from singing Away in the Major as we walked down the stairs on Christmas morning, from Campbell's condensed mushroom soup, from the scarf the monkey swung on at the boarding school zoo, and from sleeping on the hospital room floor because she shouldn't be alone. I am from the moments you fall asleep in the car and someone pulls you into their arms like a cradle to take you to bed, the comfort that comes from being cared for and loved. So that was my final version of my poem. You're gonna also be going through this revision process to create the final version of your poem today. This poem is being graded for each of these things. Do you have two instances of figurative language? Are there any spelling or grammar mistakes? Is there any awkward wording? And if I see that you still have those mistakes in your poem, you will lose points. I want to be clear that this poem grade is going in as a performance grade, as a test grade in the gradebook. So make sure you take it really seriously and you really put your best effort into these revisions. I'll be able to tell if you don't go through all three steps. So make sure you take each one seriously. If you're struggling with any of the three steps, if you're having a hard time, again, please call or text me. My number is at the top of the Google document. Thank you for all the hard work that you're putting in on your assignments, and enjoy the rest of your day.